Hello and welcome to Dice and Desire, an actual play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition podcast featuring 6 friends and very little rules. My name is Nate, your DM, and I am here with...
I'm Stuart, and I'll be playing the part of Dweezil Van Zephyr, the half-elf bard.
And I'm Luke, I'm playing Dabov, the gnome rogue.
I'm Sam, I'm going to be Krill Tazula, half-orc barbarian.
I'm MJ, and I'm going to be playing Quinch, a half-dragonborn, half-human barbarian.
It's not a thing.
And I'm Mike. I am going to be playing Gregamo Wallows, and I am a human sorcerer.
And they are my victims. We stand on the precipice of an adventure like no other. But before our mighty heroes discover their fate, we have ourselves a session 0. Other than Mike, we're all pretty new at this. Most of us have never played D&D until March of this year. So I'm not sure really what to do with session 0, so just sort of feeling it out and decided to sort of cover a few bits of admin before we get cracking with the main adventure. So, in terms of what we're going to be running, we're going to be playing Storm King's Thunder, which some of you may have played out there before. We decided to, because of our inexperience, we decided to veer away from anything homebrew or anything that wasn't outside of the official games. And after consulting with a couple of my friends, Storm King's Thunder appeared to be a decent game to be a decent campaign to run for, a campaign such a group such as ours who have little to no experience. So I've been through that a few times, got a lovely idea of what the overall story is, and hopefully my group will go in the direction I need them to. I suspect they probably won't, and they'll probably end up with a TPK somewhere right at the beginning, but let's see. Anyone who's played SKT, Storm King's Thunder, will know that it has 1 or 2 open world sections, which can be a relative grind, not only for the players, but also potentially for you as listeners. So we will, be modifying it somewhat to try and keep things brisk and keep things moving along and ensure that everyone sticks to the main plot and doesn't deviate too much. Although a bit of deviation and tangents aren't too bad a thing. But Storm King's Thunder can be a little bit of a beast at times in the middle. In terms of this podcast, it's worth noting that this will be somewhat explicit. We are going to be, we're all adults in the room. We're all going to be making a few jokes that may be inappropriate for some people, or using some words that are inappropriate for halfling ears. So, if that is something that you're worried about, then probably this is the last chance you've got of turning off before, it's your fault. We are going to be modifying the rules somewhat, or maybe not modifying them, but, again, given the lack of experience amongst us, and also not wanting to bring the game to too much of a halt, we're going to try and simplify some of the rules. So if you're a bit of a rule hound and you want to hear a game where, there's rations and travel speeds and all that sort of thing, this is probably not the show for you. This is going to be quite loose. We are going to stick to things that keep them within the main framework of D&D. But ultimately, we are going to try and cut out some of the stuff that maybe makes it a little bit too dull on the ears. So we're going to keep things hopefully at a relatively brisk pace and keep the action going. In terms of leveling up, we'll stick to the Storm King's Thunder rules. So ultimately, people will be leveled up on events rather than XP. And indeed, most of the treasure found during the game. It will be legit to what's within the adventure itself, but potentially just for a bit of fun, we have found some homebrew stuff, and we'll be throwing some things in there just to make our adventure a little bit more different to maybe some other ones that you've played or heard. From a practical point of view, we're going to be using Roll20 to track combat and dungeon crawls and things like that. But otherwise, we'll try and use Theatre of the Mind, not only because some of the maps are not necessarily the best on Roll20, but equally just because it'll help you, dear listeners, join in the fun and sort of visualise what it is that my players are dealing with. I think, in terms of the admin side of life, that covers pretty much everything. So let's just have a quick chat to my players, and so you can get a little bit to know them. Before I do that, it's worth noting that there are, if you haven't already seen, We do have full character introductions for all of our characters. So you can check them now on Spotify and various other podcast apps. So go and listen to those and you can hear a little bit more about each of the characters in more detail. You won't be getting that here particularly. But they are very good little podcasts to hear all about our characters and their brief backstory. Except, of course, one character. MJ.
How can I help?
Let's have a chat, mate. Let's have a little talk.
Please do.
Quinch. Anybody listening to this session 0 hopefully will have heard the story of Quinch the Hated, the Quinch the Bringer of Omens.
Yeah, keep up, mate. And he's no longer hated.
Okay. When I last spoke to you about Quinch, he was a half dragonborn, half human, which is still not a thing. He was a monk.
He was, yeah, for a very long time. He was a monk, actually. Yeah, a very noble and revered monk.
What's happened since then? What's happened since we last spoke?
Well, there's been some quite dramatic developments. Quinch was raised as a monk, quite religious and quite spiritual. Ever since he was a young adult, he has been falling off of his religion a little bit. You know, the trips to the temple were a little bit less frequent. And actually, if you listened to his backstory, you heard that he did become quite a violent soul up until where he is now. And so with his most recent check-in with the monk temple, which is fairly close to his hometown of Serenity Spring, he went to the monk temple. He did have, unfortunately, a small falling out with the monk leader, Quebchi. Let me just write that down in case that pops up again. Quebchi, monk leader. Had a small disagreement with Quebchi and ended up killing every single monk there. He burnt down the temple, so there was no evidence of it. And he has taken up barbarianship.
Could you just tell us what the disagreement was about? Is that possible?
So it's quite a small religion that this monk settlement adhere to, and Quinch had a problem with some of the genital based. Quinch is nearing sort of 35, and at age 35, you need to essentially. Don't really want to put too fine a point on it, but you essentially need to remove one of your testicles to pledge allegiance to the monkhood. And Quinch is something that he's always been against, but he always thought he was going to be able to sweet talk his way out of it, and he just couldn't do so, and that's why he had to burn down the entire temple and everyone in it.
Also, he only has one testicle anyway.
Can't lose the
and he
good
ain't
one.
losing that.
Cool.
Quinch
So
has
he
only
is
got
now.
one ball, the other is in the temple hall.
So Quinch is very much now a barbarian. I can't remember if you actually said that, but he is. He's no longer a monk, and he's Barbie in nature.
He's a barbster.
He's going to barb all over the shop.
Yeah.
A eunuch barbarian, or
He's the original. I suppose I'd call him the original, really. Yeah, the original.
Is he a barbarian?
Oh, what?
Is
Sorry.
that what he is? A barbarian? Is that what he is? Because he's kept his ball.
Very good. If you didn't already have inspiration, I'd give you one for that.
Nice.
Lovely. So, how much additional work has that involved? Pivoting from a monk to a barbarian, who are, I'd say, relatively different ends of the spectrum.
It was quite organic. Like I say, it was the ball thing that sort of set things in motion, and then it always
The ball
felt
rolling.
like
Was that what it was? Yeah.
it always felt like Quinch was destined to be very much the group's barbarian. So
He is basically the Conan of the group. So that's
I fucking hate you.
yeah, it happened very naturally.
Oh well, lovely. That's good. So yeah, I mean, I do you know what? When I think about it, actually, our discussion about Quinch, when I think about it now, it does very much. It's very much a 10-minute or so where you were telling me about his past rather than what he is now. You were talking about Quinch's past as a monk rather than his present as a barbarian.
Exactly.
If you listen between the lines,
it was in the backstory. There was an obvious class defined there, and what I really wanted was to have a very unique role for Quinch. And that's why I chose monk. I wanted it to be something unique, but it just didn't fit in with everything. And then of course the whole ball thing happened, and that sort of sealed it.
Lovely. What are you hoping to get out of this game, MJ? What are you hoping over the next several months, years, lifetimes of Storm King's Thunder? What are you? Is there anything you're hoping your character goes through, sort of any sort of character arc or anything like that? Or
I think he's very much found himself already. So as if he can share his wisdom, joy, and strength with others around him, I think Quinch will be pretty happy.
Yeah, barbarians are known for their wisdom.
Yeah.
Speaking of barbarians, let's move on to our official first barbarian of the group, Krill Tazula, aka Samuel P.
The OG.
How's your thunder?
I'm feeling it. Feeling the thunder. It's yet to be stolen by gross imitators. No, I mean, Krill is, in physically and personality-wise, looked up to. He is a giant in size and a giant personality. So for somebody to look at Krill and go, do you know, I want that, it's understandable. I can't be bitter about people wanting to be like Krill. Many months after Krill has sort of established himself, people still, gravitate to him and think, how cool it would be to be a barbarian. And as we can see, some people have really ran with it.
We've already spoken about on your character intro that Krill is an established character that you're playing in another campaign. So you obviously know the character relatively inside and out.
We're taking it back to step one. We're gonna see his development from like the very beginning, I guess. Like in the intro, we sort of went into his background a little bit, but not huge amounts of detail. There's still a lot to learn.
Yeah, and I think having another barbarian in the group certainly gives him something to compete with, and I think that's no bad thing necessarily. We are going up against some giants, so maybe some barbarians' strength is what the group needed. Maybe the extra muscles is a good thing.
And I know MJ's put a lot of research into making sure that like his barbarian won't just be like a duplicate of mine. It will provide his own sort of strengths that don't conflict and they don't copy. They will be of a benefit. He's not just gonna
Definitely.
He's not the type to make it up as he goes along. That's not our MJ.
I mean, he's just got to copy your character sheet, so he's definitely not gonna make it up.
Yeah.
Sam, anything that you're looking forward to getting out of this campaign? We've obviously got a couple of years. Of game potentially ahead of us. Does that daunt you? Is there anything that you're sort of looking forward to or worried about?
Krill wants a trophy, doesn't he? Krill's main goal is to get a trophy from this adventure, to get something to take back home and show off. And with like the endless possibility of giants and monsters and anything we could run into, Krill's going to find a mighty trophy, no matter how long it takes.
I do have an idea for you for a trophy. Ever thought about a dragonborn testicle?
Why not just a whole dragonborn?
There you go.
Then you can go back to being a monk.
Certainly wouldn't be like you to attack a character on your team. Let's move on. You've heard him a couple of times already. Mike, aka Gregomel.
Hello.
Hello. Your I'll say this. Your character is probably one I'm maybe looking forward to most. I think there's a couple of character traits in there that I'm looking forward to that people will have heard on the introduction. How is Gregomel coming along?
He is coming on nicely from what he can remember. I think he's just a lovable character, isn't he? He's going to be fun. He's going to inject a lot of fun into the podcast, I feel. He's got a couple of little quirks which are going to go either really, really well or this is going to be terrible for the whole group. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing him. I think, yeah, just a lot of enjoyment's going to be had with him.
Yeah, we spoke about this briefly on your introduction as well. You're not necessarily one who's delved hugely into spellcasting territory. Is that daunting, do you think, or are you looking to embrace that new sort of side of D&D?
Well, I'm definitely looking at embracing it, but it's also very daunting. Just looking at the sheer amount of spells in the spell book, working out what they all kind of do and what they mean. Honestly, it's going to be daunting. It's definitely going to be daunting, but we'll have some fun with it. So, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we've got obviously the wild magic side of life to enjoy during the game, and for me to keep an eye on. I've yet to DM any wild magic, so we shall see how that goes. But we've all got to live and learn, haven't we?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anything too awful for you to get your head around. I just thought, if I'm going to struggle with spells, I'm going to make you struggle as well. So, sharing the love.
Listen, I've got to DM MJ, so I have enough struggle as it is. So
Yeah.
Well, we all promised to make it nice and easy for the rest of us. That didn't really make sense. But
as I mentioned earlier, you did I mention? Anyway, you're probably the most experienced of the lot of us here. How have you found this group compared to your other players that you play with? Are we more anarchic? Are we more rule based? Less rule based? Is this more offensive? Probably.
Well, more offensive is definitely a given. Like you said to our listeners, if they are easily offended, they should definitely turn off now. That's just the second warning they've had now, so no excuses. Definitely more archaic than my other groups. I mean, they do go off on tangents, but nothing like this one does. Which is, I actually think it's a bonus. I do like the banter, so I think it's going to be interesting. Let's just say interesting, and leave it to people to make up their own minds.
Let's hope so. Let's hope the listeners do find it interesting. Lovely stuff. Let's move on. I don't know who to attack next. Let's go with the guy who was... Let's go with the guy who was first. Stuart.
Yes, mate.
Dweezil.
Yes. What are you saying?
What a man. What a half elf.
What an absolute half of a man and half of an elf, yeah. Half man, half elf, 100% lad.
I can't have half human, half of... dickhead.
Do you want to respond to that, how you can have half elf?
It's amazing, Michael. What you do is you have a quick flick through the player's handbook and you do some research into what's possible in Dungeons and Dragons instead of just making shit up and then asking all your mates to pick up the pieces for you.
If you didn't want imagination, mate, then you probably shouldn't have picked up Dungeons and Dragons. Sitting in your fucking music room.
Shots fired. Fuck, I don't want to be caught in this crossfire. Fucking hell.
It's alright, they'll both miss. We've obviously done an introduction on Dweezil. What do you think Dweezil's going to bring to the campaign, other than some sick burns?
Yeah, he's going to be very much the face of the group. He's going to be talking our way out of situations, and unfortunately, as will become apparent, more or less handling Quinch. So yeah, if you're worried about DMing MJ, I'm basically his in-game handler. So yeah, I've got to keep him on a short lead, do his talking for him, which is definitely for the best. But I'd like to think that when it comes down to a rumble, Dweezil's going to be able to do some damage as well. I'm quite tasty in a fight. I mean, I'm not the hardiest in terms of hit points, but I can smash out a bit of damage at level 1.
Yeah, and at the very least, you can be like the guy in Mad Max Fury Road, where he's strumming out the tunes while everyone else is fighting around him.
Strap me to the front of a lorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Why not?
Yeah, but the problem with that is he's only half the man, isn't he? So. Oh, there's going to be a lot of those jokes coming out. You know it.
Correct. I do have to apologise to you. I will admit that at an early stage, I did know that DMing and having a game with MJ in was going to be difficult. And I can't deny that I thought I need to pair MJ up with somebody who I know will be able to handle him, and I just knew that you, as well as Dweezil, would be very much able to deal with the wild magic of MJ's mouth.
Both myself and Dweezil are more than capable of handling a man.
Lovely stuff. Let's talk to a man who loves to be handled. Luke.
Hello, I definitely love to be handled. Yes.
Dabor. Talk to me about Dabor.
Dabor, yeah, or as his friends call him, Dabov.
Dabor the Dabber.
Oh, I can't believe you actually dabbed. Brilliant. I've lost all respect I had for you.
That was a very low bar. Dabov. If Dweezil's the face of the group, what's Dabov?
I would say the curious one of the group. I think I kind of said that in my intro, that just for better or worse, curiosity is the driving force. Just Dabov just doesn't want to be bored. So it may lead to situations like, I don't know, ceilings collapsing or something, just to see what happens. There's not going to be much forethought. It is just, there's one way to find out what happens, and that's to do it. And then what happens. So yeah, the inquisitive one, I'd say, the one that wants to find out what happens.
If Dabov, I know you've said before, he's not necessarily like a typical thief of a rogue. He's more of a, like you say, an inquisitive sort of trickster.
Yeah.
If he were to steal from one of the other groups, one of the other members in his group, who do you think he'd steal from?
I would say that lacks ambition, because I plan to steal from at least one item from every single person.
Right. Okay, which one first?
Which one has the biggest pockets? I'd say one of the barbarians, although they're probably not wearing very much, but they can probably carry a lot. So I'd say
probably
one of
the
them.
secondary barbarian got the big with the giant.
Yeah, I would go for the secondary one, so I probably would go for Quinch. Because I know he's not a monk now, but I mean he might change back. God knows.
So
with
they've
MJ,
got
to be
bigger
honest.
pockets than a giant, so quite a compliment.
But I'm just saying, like, you might be a bit meek. What with being a monk, you might forgive pretty quickly when you inevitably change class again.
What is the maximum amount of classes you can multi-class into? Is MJ just going to try and have Quinch?
Oh, please just be a level 1 in every class. That would just be brilliant.
Brilliant. Excellent stuff. Thank you very much, all of you guys. I'm very much looking forward to DMing you. It's worth noting to those that are listening, this is our second game as a collective. We have this evening literally just finished Lost Minds of Fandelver. Ended probably not in the way we expected, but it ended, which is, I think, the important thing.
I'd say it's quite a good ending myself. We brought the roof down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Literally.
Epic.
And everyone we loved and cared for was there at the end.
Yeah. And I think the most
important died.
Most important character to the story had the final attack, so yeah, fine.
Well, penultimate attack.
Well,
penultimate
no,
attack.
final thing. It was the thing that killed the spider, so.
It didn't. No.
Huh?
No, yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah. No, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter, if anything. It ended. It ended so that this could be born. Storm King's Thunder, Dice and Desire. So yeah, that is me. That is us. That's a little bit of a flavour of the type of show that you're going to be getting. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more roleplay and everything, but hopefully you enjoyed this. Please do hit subscribe on your favourite podcast app. Hopefully we're there. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Dice and Desire for more fun and info on this very adventure. Also keep an eye out because we're going to be doing some other things. I don't think we've necessarily worked out exactly what, but we'll try and incorporate you guys and you fans into our game in some capacity, whether that's character names or something along those lines or something else. Don't want to necessarily copy anyone else, but we'll do something to bring you into the game. And we're also going to try along the way to do some different types of shows. This will be the main show, but we'll try and do some one-shots and things like that along the way to just keep things fresh, etc., etc. So, with the pleasantries out of the way, it's time for the darkness, the fear, and the fight to arise. The setting for our adventure is the savage frontier. The savage frontier, also known as the North, is a cold, rugged, sparsely populated land of snow-capped mountains.
Thank you for listening to Dice and Desire. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review in your favourite podcast app. In between episodes, you can interact with us on Twitter and Instagram at Dice and Desire.